Hey everybody, this is Joe with another video, and as you can see, we've started the Grand Valley layout kit. These are the risers and the inclines. Now, I want to talk about some of the things I've done. Now, I'm sitting down on a chair here just so you could see me in frame, because when I stand up, you really can't see me. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've laid out the 4 foot by 2 foot base right here on the bottom, okay? And I have glued them to the extruded styrofoam here. Let me lift this up a little bit so you can see it right here. You can see the green styrofoam underneath. Now, one or two people commented on the type of spray adhesive that they told me not to use this stuff called Super 77. I appreciate you telling me that. Yeah, I knew about spray glue eating away at foam, so I was very careful to try and find a spray glue just for foam. I couldn't find one, but we did have here at the house a spray glue my wife had, and it was a full can. I don't even think she used it. And it listed all the materials that it's good for, and one of the materials was foam, okay? And I sprayed it on the white foam and the green foam, and so far so good. I'm not having any problems, okay? It seems to be pretty good. But again, I was very careful. I appreciate you telling me about the dangers of spray glue with foam, but I did know that. So anyway, I've gone ahead and done that. Now, I may have jumped the gun just a little bit here. I don't think so, but just a little bit. What I've gone ahead and done is I've laid out all the risers and the inclines on the kit. There's a couple of bridges over there. Well, that's a overpass, and that is where a Warren Truss bridge will be back there, where that gap is there. And I have not glued any of this down yet, and I'll tell you why. I don't have the track yet, okay? The guy that was supposed to be getting me the track pack, I thought I'd have it, a few days back, because I actually had a long weekend. My days off are Friday and Saturday, and I had taken Sunday off for some graduation parties. And I was hoping to have the track then. But if anybody sees this video, I'm just curious if they're familiar with this kit. How well does the track fit onto the pre-marked layout with the risers and the inclines? Now, as I said, I pinned all this down with the foam pins. I have not glued any of it yet, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to get into cutting track. Okay, I've never been really good at cutting track. I'll do it if I have to, but I would rather move these this way or that way, or unpin it and move it out and add a piece. I'd rather deal with it that way than this way. I was very careful to follow the instructions and go inside all the lines, and I'm going to move the camera in a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And very carefully, and I have to admit, it was a little bit easier than I thought, because on the base, the foam base, the 4-piece base that you put together, it tells you where to start, it tells you where to finish. Start your 0 to 2 inch incline here. It tells you where to put all the risers in. First riser starts here, ends here. Second riser starts here, ends here. Start your 0 to 3 inch incline here, end here. It really did make it easier. Between the instructions and this, it was actually kind of easy. But yeah, I really wish I had the track, and I'll tell you why. There was a couple of little spots that I was having trouble with. The overpass over there, it's a little cockeyed right now, because the foam piece that goes across is not sitting flat, because right before I shot the video, I had turned the layout. We're going to talk about turning the layout too. That my idea was to have it so I could reach the back and everything. Well, we'll talk about that in a second, because I think there might be a problem with that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this and show you a slight modification that I made, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to turn the camera and want to zoom in on that. They're calling it the overpass, I think. Right, I apologize for this, folks. Yeah, right there, okay? It's not quite level now, because the one end is just sticking up a little bit. But that piece that I laid across there, it was actually lower than the risers on each side, so I just shimmed it up a little bit to make it level. Now that's going to be covered up by the mountain. As long as the train goes over it nice and smooth with no bumps, I'm really not that concerned about it. But I'll tell you what the part that I was concerned about. I'm going to move the camera again, and I want to show you this part over here. Okay, right there. I apologize for all the bumping. Okay, that is where the Warren Trush Bridge is going to go. What I noticed about that spot, now on the mat here, it tells you where it should start, where your risers and inclines should start and stop. Okay, that wasn't a problem. The problem I foresaw is this side was a little bit lower than this side. So what I did was I took a small wooden shim and I jammed it underneath this right-hand side of it. Now, if you were to lay a level across that, that's level. I don't know how that's going to affect the track, okay? I'm not exactly sure how that's going to affect the track. I'm hoping once the track gets on, everything is just fine. Now I want to show you if you can see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on this part right here. Now as you can see, all through here there's lines printed on the layout, all around where all your risers and inclines should be. This is just an example of how your risers should fit in between these lines. And those lines, those guidelines are printed pretty much all the way around the layout right here. You can even see them over here. Get this out of the way. You can even see them right in through here. They're all printed right here. This is a little filler piece you have to cut and put in. There's two more on the, I think it's a, one of the crossovers on the other side. But like I said, I was real careful to stay inside the lines with the risers and in the inclines. And that's where I'm at so far with this. And so far, I'm liking it. I mean, it was pretty easy to do. It wasn't that hard. It was pretty easy. It's even marked where the tunnel should be. And, maybe I'll take the camera off the tripod and run through the layout real quick. But before I do that, I want to show you a couple of other things that I did while I'm waiting for the track, because that's basically the next part, is to get the track on, mark where the track is, to make sure everything lines up on your risers and inclines. You want the track right in the middle, okay? Just got to get the track. But I did go ahead and start doing a few things. One of the things I did is I cut these out of the foam sheets, 1/4-inch foam sheets, these tunnel portals. And basically what these are, what you get, there's 4 of them. You get them on the layout. Your plastered tunnel portals will stick to this. They were pretty easy to cut. I cut 4 of them. They give you a pattern to use. And I used the Woodland Scenics, the foam knife. And that works really good. It seems to keep the sharpness of the blade. I thought that might be a problem, but I'm going to have to probably pick up another pack of the blades, because later on we're going to get into cutting hard plaster and stuff like that, the plaster cloth, and I'm probably going to end up going through some blades. So I did go ahead and I cut these out of the foam. Another thing I thought, I might as well do while I'm waiting on the track, is I started painting my plaster tunnel portals. Basically all I did with these are pretty easy. Basically all I did with these is I painted them with the base coat, because it's like a concrete color. I dry brushed on some white paint, very light, started building it up a little so you could see some of the detail. And then I went ahead with the black pigment and just washed it. I just gobbed it on there and just let it dry off. And that brings out a little bit more of the black details. So it did come out pretty nice. I have 3 of them done. I'm pretty happy with them. I think they came out pretty nice. And if you saw one of my last videos, I'm still in the process of making the tunnel liners, the insides of the tunnel liners. I did a couple of, I think I've got 5 or 6 of them done now. Since there's 4 tunnel portals, I'm going to have 2 on each one. That might be overkill. I don't know if I'm going to be needing them all, but they're not that big a deal to make. So I'm going to go ahead and make maybe 3 or 4 more. So I have 2 out of each tunnel portal. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that. So yeah, so far it's moving along pretty good. Now, I mentioned about turning the layout, how my idea was to pull the layout out and spin it so I can work on the back end. Well, you know, before I get to that, there was one other thing I did, and I started cutting. I want to show you these here. This is the profile board for the right-hand side of the layout. Now, I've probably jumped the gun and cut this a little too soon, but you know, I used the foam wire cutter, the hot foam wire cutter, and it cut really easy. You know, it really did. And this, if you can imagine, this will go down the right-hand side of the layout, like right here. Okay, and then there'll be more on the other side, obviously, but I've gone ahead and done that too. Now, as far as turning the layout, like I said, I wanted to do this without attaching it to the tabletop because I wanted to be able to turn it so I could work on the back side. Well, that may be easier said than done. I think I might have to change my plan of attack on that a little bit, because once you start putting plaster cloth and things like that on it, when you pull this out and move, it does flex a little bit. And especially when you start getting the ballast on, because you have to ballast the tunnels first. That's one of the steps coming up soon. You do your tunnel work, and you actually have to ballast the inside of the tunnels. Once I start pulling this out, it's going to flex and bend a little bit. I don't want anything coming off or busting off or anything like that, so I think what I'm going to do is, I have access, somebody I know has stands, and they're adjustable. And they're basically, those stands are on like a small tripod, and they come up and they've got like a roller on the top. Well, basically, I can get two of them. I'll put one here and maybe one, you know, behind me somewhere. And then I could pull the layout straight out on the rollers, nice and level, have it even with the top of the table here. Pull it out, and to stop it from rolling on the rollers, all you do is you take a couple of wedges, shims or wedges, shove them in there. That'll stop the roller from moving. The rollers might even lock down. I'm not even sure. I think the ones I was looking at might have had a lock, but the ones that I'm going to be borrowing might not. But anyway, we'll be pulling the layout out. Then I could get to the back side. This side over here is not too much of a problem. I can get to that. I can get to almost halfway up. It's pretty much this side and this left-hand edge and that back left-hand part of the layout where I'm going to have trouble. But I get the stands. I can slide the layout out and slide it back, because I don't want to be moving it, twisting it and turning it, because I don't want to crack any of the plaster or break off any of the ballast as I start getting into this, because I can't get all the way around my layout. And this really doesn't lend itself to putting a hatch in, because I thought about doing that. So really, this design really doesn't lend itself to doing that. But if my big question is, and if anybody is familiar with this layout, if they built this layout, once you get these on, I'm wondering how accurate the track is. But I'm assuming it's going to be really close. I'm hoping I don't have to do much moving around of these risers and inclines, because like I said, I did follow the pattern almost exactly. I'm going to take the camera off the tripod in a minute, and I'll zoom in around the layout. I'll show you exactly what I did. But another thing I started doing is I took my sanding sponge, and anywhere, for instance right here, where these two risers meet, it's a little bit uneven. So I started taking my sanding sponge and just going one way and sanding down so I get a nice, smooth transit. Now it's going to be a little bit difficult. There's some filler pieces here. I might actually have to, there's another piece of foam underneath this holding it up. I might have to cut another one just a little bit higher, because there's a little bit of bump right here. Now, where the incline starts, that's not too bad. That's actually pretty good. This is where like an incline starts right here. And I know this is all white. I hope it's not all washed out so you can see it. But I don't think I have to. But once you get up into, say, over here, where you have two inclines meeting, you want to make sure they're level for your track. You don't want to have one higher than the other. And if it is higher than another, you just sand it down. So I started sanding it down, trying to make where all the risers and inclines meet to be nice and smooth. So that's where I'm at right now. The next phase is putting some track on. If I have to wait another week or so on the track, that's okay. Like I said, I might be in a little bit of a rush now because I kind of want to get going, but I really do have to back up and take my time with this, because as I stated in the other videos, I want this to go very slow, because I want to make sure it's done really, really well. I want to make sure it works really, really well. But if I have to wait another week or so on the track, I might start maybe making trees. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I have some ideas I might want to do with some of the trees. I'm not sure yet. But again, that's where I'm at right now, and I'm going to take the tripod off the camera, and I'm going to show you where I lined up all my inclines. I'll tell you, these foam tack pins came in really handy. I actually bought 2 extra boxes of them because I knew I wasn't going to be gluing down the risers and incline because I knew I wouldn't have the track right away. So they came in, having those extra pins came in really, really handy. Now if you do this the correct way, according to the instructions, well, maybe not the correct way, but if you stick strictly to the instructions, you're supposed to put the risers down first, I think, put the track down, line it all up, put the inclines on, take the track off, put the inclines on, and then do it again. That seemed like a, not a waste of time, but maybe an extra step that I'm familiar with how this stuff works, you know what I mean? So I was confident enough that if I had to move some of these risers and inclines, because I don't have a lot of experience with them, I still was pretty comfortable with if this has to move out a ½ inch or in a ½ inch or push that in or pull that out. And they do give you extra inclines and risers to do that kind of stuff with. So I was pretty confident that once I get the track, I'm pretty confident it's going to line up. Unless I hear from one of you guys and you tell me, oh, there's all kinds of problems with the track. I hope not. I hope the track lines up exactly right. So I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off the tripod and show you what I got going on here. So just bear with me here. Okay, now, this is where we're at right here. Sorry about that, I'm jostling the camera around a little bit. But as you can see, as you go around here, I stayed in all the lines. Everything lined up perfectly as I was putting all these risers and inclines on. I'm all lined up really, really good here. Everything's pretty much spot on the way it should be according to this printed pattern here, So over into here, everything's right on both sides too. Not on, it's not just on one side. It's lined up really good on both sides, all the way around. Now there's there's one filler spot right there I was telling you about. You have to cut some foam. That's where one of the switches is going to be. There's one tiny little filler spot right there. Another one right there. The key to those is the piece of foam underneath. You want to make sure it's the right height so you get a nice smooth transition. And then the other one is, like I showed you, was right there. That one's a little bit low. But, everything, even on this outside, going all the way around, everything lined up really, really good. And as you can see, here's one of the things, 2-inch end of 1 inch to 2 inch incline. First tier, you know what I mean? So that's actually right there is where, well, that's actually about right here. It's not exactly perfect. It's actually about right here. That's where one incline ends, and this is where the beginnings. So I am a little bit off right there. I actually just noticed that. But for the most part, where all these instruction lines are, where everything's supposed to begin and end, I'm pretty much right on, okay, all the way around, So I'm hoping the track fits on just perfect. Now, as I come down here, there's where one of the tunnel portals are going to be. You have to imagine, this part of the layout right here, that's all the mountain. It's like a mountain, and then right in here is going to sit like some buildings and stuff like this. It's going to be flat over there. I think there's some more buildings down here and over there. But, yeah, one of the tunnels will be up there. One of the tunnel portals will be right there. You can see it. Okay, one's going to be right there, where that curved line is. And the other one's going to be right there. Now what you're supposed to do is you have to build the tunnel portal up with you have to cut foam for right there, and you have to, let's bring it down here. Yeah, you have to build up some foam to this level, and then your tunnel portal will sit right here. So anyway, like I said, my big question is if anybody is familiar with this, how well does the track line up once you have all your risers and inclines on? That's my question. So that's where I'm at right now. Everything's looking pretty good. And I'm hoping to have the track in the next couple of days. I'm hoping to have it tomorrow, actually. But we'll see what happens. So that's where we're at. And, oh, another thing, guys, I noticed in my last couple of videos that, let's move this out here. I noticed in my last couple of videos, it's a little dark down here. I didn't realize that. You know, I got some shadowing over there. A little bit of shadowing there. It's a little dark down here. I got some lights up here. Fluorescent light. I got some of those work lights. I'm going to get some more light down here so it's a little bit better. One of the things I did too is I turned off the light on the camera so it's not as glaring. But anyway, that's where we're at right now with the entire Grand Valley layout. And again, you can see I stayed in all the lines. Everything lined up really, really good on both sides. You know? Everything lined up really, really nice. So I'm hoping the track is no trouble at all. Like I said, I don't want to get into cutting track. I really don't. But that's where we're at with our Grand Valley project. And hopefully the next video we'll have some track on here. Maybe even run a train around it. Okay? Alright, this is Joe. Thanks for watching.